fiction, science fiction, horror, fantasy, crime, LGBT, thriller.
You have now entered the House of Mystery with your hosts, Eric Shapiro, David North Martino, John Copenhaver, and Al Warren. Heard on KCAA 106.5 FM Los Angeles,
102.3 FM Riverside,
and 105.0 AM Palm Springs.
Welcome back into the House of Mystery, and of course, it's 2023. We are back on the road.
Yes, we are.
I'm barely awake. I'm glad you're back. I'm glad you're running things here. Get going, because I can't handle it. I'm over it. So here we go. Now, yesterday was a good show. Hey, it worked out really well. You know, Maryland.
Yeah, always.
Yeah.
Marilyn Monroe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff.
Always. Never changes. Never changes. I always wonder about that, you know. But it keeps on going.
Yeah.
Keeps on going. So now we're getting back into this is the true stuff today. Okay. We're getting into real things here. So now we've got a, performer who's really good, but he's writing, and we're going to talk about his book. The book is called TimeLab, Episode 1, San Francisco. That's your old stomping grounds, isn't it? And we've got Jackiem Joyner. Thank you for being here.
Hey, Alan. Thanks for the invitation.
Oh, you're welcome. It's always good to have you. So what's been going on? How do you write, when you've got all this? I mean, because I've been on the road. I know what it's like when you're traveling and you're performing, and you're also fairly popular, and you got albums, you got all this stuff going on. So where do you find the time to actually sit down and write?
You know, I was asking myself that question this morning.
And did you answer? Did you get an answer?
It's it's so crazy because I'm so busy as a performing artist. I play saxophone and I tour as a saxophone artist, and a lot of my fans are also readers too, so they love it when I come up with something unique in a story. My first novel, Zaria, came out back in 2014. But I will say that it's not the easiest thing to really get into writing like I'd like to, because I'm also writing an album too. But I love stories, you know. So when I'm home, like in January, I'm always home in January, I get to sit down and try to finish what I'm working on, any stories, any ideas. For instance, TimeLab, I'm just finishing up episode 2, and I'd like to get that done before I get on the road. So it's like a hit and miss kind of thing. It's like, you get the time in when you can.
Yeah, I would imagine. I mean, I'm doing a lot, but I find that, you see, I work on a total... I'm a total nutball. Like, I'll have music going, I'll have the TV going, sometimes 2 TVs going. I've got the radio show, and then meanwhile I'm writing when all that stuff is going on, and I've got dogs running around. So I'm kind of insane, but that sort of drives me to write. Like, I couldn't sit in front of a beautiful lake in a quiet breeze and sit there and start writing. That would be I'd kill myself.
I think if I wasn't partially insane, I wouldn't be able to write either.
Yeah. Well, that's what, because I find that, because what I do is I put a lot of things around me, and that would really be distracting, but then I turn it off, and it's almost like I'm in the eye of the storm, and I can sort of sit there and write. So, whereas other people are, they can't do that. They think, you're insane, right? There's something wrong with you. So how do you focus on what you're writing, bud?
I come up with a lot of times I mainly focus on getting my outline done. I kind of talk to myself and say, what do I want this story to be about? How do I want this story to sound? What do I want the audience to feel. And then I just kind of put an outline and, maybe it'd be 10 chapters in the beginning and just say, I want this to happen here. I want this to happen. I want to make sure this happens. And then I delve into the intros and just start writing. I find that I'm more focused in the morning time. It's quiet. Unlike you, a lake would do me excellent. I was just going to say that, I can't, because it's so easy to get pulled off of your zone. I mean, sometimes when you get into writing, it's like, oh, man, it's like I was going yesterday and today it's like nothing.
Well, yeah.
But I will say though, once you get into it, it's like all of this stuff is coming at you and you're just scribbling it down as fast as you can. So that you can look at all that junk the next day and be like, what in the world is this? This makes no sense.
Well, yeah, but the stress drives me, I think. So that drives me to write. And also I'm writing a lot of true crime and stuff. So I'm writing about really sick people. So the stress sort of feeds it. I think, whereas, you're not, so, and I'm not writing some love story. So, it's not going to be, something I need a lake for.
Yeah. I mean, as a writer for me, I try to come up with, story plots and storylines that aren't cliche. I like to have my own kind of thing, when I'm putting down a story, like TimeLab, which is, okay, there's tons and tons of stories about, going back to the future or going back in time and stuff like that. So in TimeLab, I say, well, what if we had, what if someone from the past, say 2,000 years ago, was working on building a time machine, but they thought he was a witch, right? But he was doing, true science. And then let's say we go to the current time and there's a science in the current time and he's dabbling in the same thing and seeing if it's possible to build a machine that could bend time or whatever. Somehow these two work together and build an ultimate time machine. That's basically what TimeLab is about. But everyone from their respective time think they're both crazy. So, it's like in the past, Sir Bernard is like he's a witch. So, they're looking for him, they're hunting him down. They want to arrest him and throw away all of his equipment. And then Kyle, who's in current times, they just think he's a cocky student in college who thinks he knows everything. He drinks, he loves to party, and he's rarely sober. But he's brilliant, and his mother was working on a lot of science and physics, and he's trying to follow that path, and he comes up with some interesting things where people think he's still kind of crazy. So that's TimeLab.
Well, I'm wondering, having written music and having, written novels now, is there anything similar in your creative process to doing both of those? Or, does, musicianship help you with like the rhythm of language as you're writing?
I think because, not every performing artist is a producer or writer of their own music. Luckily, I write my own songs, so which is a completely different mindset that's required, to being just simply a performer. So when you get into writing songs like I do, and it feels like you're in this big creative process, and as you come back and comb over it again and again, it just starts to get better and it makes more sense. I feel like it's the same way with writing stories, because I just it almost feels like I'm writing songs, believe it or not. And it's like, wow, it's like everything is kind of coming together as long as I'm patient with the story and allow the story to kind of compose itself and just kind of follow along and put the pieces together. Is exactly what I do when I'm writing songs. So it just works perfectly for me as an author and a writing. Something that was really unexpected. I didn't think that, when I first started trying to write my first story, which is Zaria, I didn't know what was, what the process was going to be like, but it turns out that it fit exactly who I am.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you put yourself in your characters, or do you? Or is it like a dream to you, or do you like, and you're hungover or something and it comes to you, or,
Hungover. It's interesting because, I grew up around so many different types of people and personalities, and traveling the world, you meet so many people and so many interesting people and interesting characters, so I'll try to take some of that experience and pour it into someone in the story, perhaps. For instance, Kyle, who is he's from the present time. He kind of reminds me of a bass player that I used to work with, who just would never find himself sober ever. So, and just was fun to hang around because of that. So I kind of, drew on some of those energies. I'm not going to say his name, but if he read the story, he would say, "That's me."
Well, it's a good thing, maybe.
Maybe, right?
Yeah, it depends. Well, that's interesting. So when you, wow, so what do you got going on here? Like, this is episode 1. So are you writing this like I don't know what you call it, almost like a serial, like a show that you would see on TV, like a series?
Yeah, I mean, it's mainly like a series. I mean, I'm already into episode 3 now, writing. I haven't put out episode 2 yet. So it's like the story is really coming along nicely. And some really interesting things, some new characters are coming in to be a part of the story, and maybe a few people who actually agree with the 2 scientists and that they're not actually crazy and insane. So it's starting to feel really good. And I think that honestly, I'll probably get to somewhere 15, 16 episodes on this thing, I believe.
Well, yeah, you never know. You just go with it, and.
Yeah, I don't want to be conclusive on anything as I'm writing and putting the story together. A new thing that I'm trying to do, because this is really kind of like my first series, and I'm working on another series that has something to do with something else. But I'm kind of figuring out to try to outline this series, actually. So like go all the way to, episode 16 and kind of work backwards a little bit. And then just kind of fill in the pieces. So it's just kind of a new way, kind of a different way of looking at the story in a whole, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's a good way in a sense, because you kind of have the outline and you fill in the holes, because you won't make the mistakes of, if you're doing it one at a time and you get to somewhere and it's hard sometimes to change things.
Exactly. Especially if it's, some cool stuff that happened and it's like, gosh, I can't change that. It's like, what do I do? And then now you're stuck,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I understand that. So when you're doing this and you put this out, what do you hope someone gets out of the book? Like when someone picks up TimeLab and they read it, what is it you want? What kind of reaction or what kind of thing do you want?
Well, okay, so there's 2 things. One, I would like for people in the science community to enjoy it, to find it interesting, find it fun, but then also exciting for people who like to have a sense of adventure. Like, for instance, just give you a little short part of the story. Sir Bernard's time machine does actually work, and he manages to escape to the future before they arrest him. And the first thing he sees is lights, and he's jumping around. He doesn't know all of these sounds, cars beeping, and and then a plane flies over, and it's just like he just jumps to the ground from the sound of the engine, and he just and it's trying to fix his eyes on where he is. So that type of excitement that, hopefully could keep a reader at the edge of their seat and just really give them that sense of adventure plus science. I would like for them to feel that.
Well, how important is it for you to work with and research current science and even current thought on time travel? Is that something that you do, or is it mostly imagination?
No, I do some research, and a good friend of mine works here at the Air Force Base for Northrop Grumman, and I talked to him about some stuff. And then I got another friend of mine who is our robotics technician in Boston, and they're developing all kinds of stuff. And I always like kind of throw stuff back at them and like, so would this make sense, or what is this, and how do you do this? So I would like for it to have. I want the series to have some real science. So like I said earlier, because I want people in the science community to also find it interesting, not just, a bunch of imaginary stuff that this happened this way, this happened this way. Well, theoretically, if there was to be time travel, these are the things that theoretically would need to work. So how can we incorporate that into a fun storyline? If that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, good luck trying to get the science community happy.
I know. They're like, they're as soon as they see it, they're like, nope, wouldn't work.
Yeah. No. X, no, forget it. No.
Not going to happen.
Yeah. Some of them are tough. The hard science 5 people are really, really tough, but somebody's got to do it, I guess,
Yeah, someone.
Yeah.
Why not me?
Yeah, why not? What do you got to lose at this point, right?
Exactly.
So what influences you? It says that you've been into science fiction since you were a kid. So what kind of things do it? Is it kind of the old classics from the 50s and 60s or earlier, or do you like modern stuff?
Well, I mean, I think my first science fiction, I think it was Star Trek. Yeah, I remember I was about 5 or 6, and my dad was always watching Star Trek. And then the new Star Trek came out, Star Trek Next Generations. I'll never forget that. Because the first one was, I can't remember.
Spock and Shatner?
Exactly. Yeah. So that was like, I was really, really just barely born when that one came out. But then Star Trek Next Generation with Captain Picard was very interesting. And the Cleons and all of that stuff was very exciting. And then Star Wars, and I just fell in love with the Star Wars story and what it means to be a Jedi and what it takes, and then a Sith Lord and all of this stuff. And then as of recent, a lot of the new science fiction stories and movies were disappointing. While the CGI was amazing, the visuals was awesome, but I'm like, this plot just doesn't really do it for me, at least. So I'm like, gosh, it's like you guys waste all of that CI on a story that could have been so much better. And I think that led me into trying to do my own story, which is why I started to write Zarya. And I said, wow, okay, this is a lot harder than I thought.
It's always that way, right?
It's like, man, I got to remember all the characters. I got to find a way how to get organized. And I was like, geez, this is insane. But I just kept going.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of how it is. You just gotta, it's always harder sitting from the sideline saying, why don't they do this? But it's true. A lot of, things are very computer generated now. So it's very effects and a lot less plot. And, it's kind of stuff you can have on without listening to it.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And it's so interesting because while Zarya was, my first storyline, I did another book called Minor Assassin. And I think my second novel is where I really started to find my tone as an author, where I started to see how my writing seems to be a certain way that I think people will instantly recognize. Because I think the first story was a lot of trying, and I was going back and forth with editors and different things like that. So, but I think my Minor Assassin definitely goes into my authentic tone, I think, where I like suspicion, I like thriller, adventure, and I like science, and I like putting that in stories. Minor Assassin is is a different kind of a story, whereas Zarya is more of a teenage science fiction, teenage girl saves the world type of thing. Minor Assassin is more of a real world, real cops, real detectives, real bad things happening, and real mystery. And, so it's a different genre, so to speak.
Well, you talked about organization and refining your organization. Do you have any tools to do that? Do you have a process for organizing both what you're going to put into the story and maybe the attributes of your characters?
Well, right now, Scrivener is like pretty much does everything that I wanted to do. I don't know if you've heard of that software.
Oh, yes, I use it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So that really keeps me organized because I can put pictures in or inspiration for pictures, and I can throw my plot lines out. Or if I get a really quick idea to put in chapter 3, I can just go and put it on the notes there in the side. So when I go and look at chapter 3, I can see my notes there. And I mean, honestly, I can't find anything else better than that. That's really keeping it going for me. Really, any other tools I would say, outside of Scrivener covers so much. Yeah. It really does. Yeah.
Yeah, I found it very helpful.
Yeah. I've got the app on my phone too, the Scrivener app on your phone too, and that kind of syncs as well. But I don't like to do it sync too much because it's like I don't want to lose anything.
Yes, that's frightening.
Yeah, because I think at one time, I did lose. I was just gone. It was like, I don't know, 10 p.m. at night, and I was on my phone, and I just started going. The story was just coming to me, and I was just on a roll. And then I think I went to sync, and then I came back and I looked at my phone, and it was empty.
Oh, that is the worst.
So, yeah, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like I'm not gonna. It's gone. It's gone forever. So you gotta be careful with the syncing stuff. So I'm really, really careful with syncing this. I might just keep it where I use Scrivener locally here just to keep the ideas and stuff like that real quick. But I don't want to sync and get it confused.
Yeah, that's the worst.
Yeah.
End up on someone else's phone.
Exactly, right? Hey, I've had the same thing happen with songs. I'm working on a song and I'm coming up with a melody and different things like that, and then all of a sudden the computer shuts down.
Oh no.
Yeah, and it's like, I've been working for 3 hours and then maybe I didn't save.
Yeah. No, I know.
That hurts, man. That hurts. Yes. I mean, it's just God. It's gonna take 2 weeks to get back motivated.
Yeah. It's the universe's way of saying, no, this isn't working. Do it again.
Yeah, right. It's crazy though. Like if you kind of remember the idea of what you're doing, surprisingly enough, that second time when you write it, it actually is better.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You're in a different frame of mind, maybe, and that's certainly more careful or something. I don't know. Who knows? Wow.
Exactly.
So you don't know where it's going to go. You're just going to do this TimeLab until.
Yeah, I haven't. Well, here's what I kind of know where it's gonna. I kind of know how the story's gonna end. I mean, Sir Bernard has to get back to answer to. He can't stay in San Francisco. I mean, he has a family in. Where is he? He's in somewhere in. Gosh, I can't remember where I had to put him in, but he's in Europe, and he has a family there. He's got to get back 2,000 years ago. So that's going to be.
He might really get into San Francisco. He might transition, become a woman, be going to the gay bars, and why does he want to go back to the wife and kids? And they want to kill him. They think he's a witch.
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe I've got a. One part in the series where there's going to be getting some communication coming through from some trusted people, and so he has to solve some issues there. Plus, I think he's also anxious to make sure that his family is safe too. So he has to get back, and Kyle has to prove to his professors he's not crazy. So they both have important things to do.
I wonder if the time travel will ever really happen.
Well, it's technically you can see into the past. When you look in space.
Yeah,
I mean,
true. Yeah.
So that's pretty much time travel, I guess. I mean, the idea is if you can be there instantaneously, and the biggest thing that scientists have come up with is by bending light and creating a warp in the space, creating a warp in space time and bending it. So supposedly that's supposed to be a way to travel. No one has figured it out. I doubt if they do.
Well, let's get them on that. They can go back in time and fix things.
Yeah, but then the thing is, it's like, if you go back in time and, because I don't know what this theory is called, but if you go back in time and fix something that's broken, then it was never broken, which means that you never had to go back in time to fix it.
Well, but they can make me young again. So there you go.
Well, yeah, but then you would go back in time and be young again to come back to be old again.
We'll just keep it going in a circle, and it's okay, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it would be like your own time loop while everyone else is moving.
Yeah.
In one singular line in time, you're in a loop.
There you go. You see? Now I know. That's what I want. They're
Stuck in a loop.
Yeah. Work on that. Get that going. Forget
That's
music. What are you doing? Put down that. Stop doing that music and start getting this working, you know?
Right? The time loop.
So what are you going to do when you got two careers like this going? How do you choose?
How do you choose? I do not like choosing. I don't want to have to choose, honestly. I mean, I love both of them. My music career takes priority, obviously.
Right.
And so I don't. I mean, gosh, would I ever be in a situation where I have to choose? I mean, I don't know. I guess if Warner Brothers picked up one of my stories and said, "We want to give you $1 trillion, just focus on this," yeah, pretty much I'd make the choice and not go into it, right? I mean, so there's always going to be time to write. I think, you know, you don't have to spend hours to write. You can write for 10 minutes, you know, if it's something that you like doing. I will say, you know, when it comes to marketing and publishing and all of that other stuff, you know, that's kind of a headache. You know, you said, and you wish you didn't have to do all of that, but I guess it's just kind of the landscape now, really.
Oh, it's awful. You have to do, like, you know, all that marketing online and social media, and then you have to talk to people like us, and it's just
crazy people like Alan, Warren.
Get crazy. I mean, it's insane. I don't know, but well, I know it was hard to focus. I think it takes you off your game, sort of, doesn't it? In a way.
You know, it's like, because not, you know, it's like, am I supposed to be a wizard on social media and also be writing? I mean, there was a time where even music, it's the same thing with music, actually.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we have to post our shows, and sometimes we get promoters. They be like, "Hey, we need to sell more tickets for this show. So can you do this video, and can you do that, and you can do that?" And, you know, and they ask you to do these things, and we want to do that because, you know, we want to have sold out shows.
Yeah.
But we prefer to just make good music and create a great performance if that was allowed.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, you know, years ago, that's kind of how they did it. You know, the different movie studios or, you know, the record labels, they did all of that. They took Elvis and sent him everywhere.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, and you wonder, does your art suffer when you're doing all of these things, newsletters? But I will say, I mean, without the work that I put in on the business side of it, you know, I don't think I would have been further as long as I am. So it's kind of like I had to, really, you know.
Yeah, I think that's the way it is now. It's not, they haven't got those big studios and record labels like they used to that were doing everything. So now you kind of, if you don't do it, nobody else will type thing.
Yeah. I mean, and I was with the big label for some 15 years, and even then I still had to do a lot.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what I mean. Like nowadays, they don't, it's not like they do the same thing. Even, you know, even the publishers, the big publishers, it's like there isn't the same sort of work that goes behind it from them, you know, support. Nowadays, I think you kind of have to, which, I guess in a way it probably hurts the art a little bit, but at the same time, it gives you more control, right?
It does give you more control. Yeah. More creative control. You know, and your audience too. You can communicate directly with your audience and your fans, which is great, you know. But their expectations get higher the more attention you give them.
Plus, there's more expectations. You got so many people coming at you now on social media or live than as compared to just when you're kind of hid behind the wall and someone else is doing it and they kind of tell you. Now you've got a lot of voices, so.
Exactly. So,
You have to-
yeah, but I don't know, it's like, it's just where we are, and we got to do it. Yeah, can't complain anymore. I guess that's just the way it is.
That's right. Damn it. Wait, so who do you want to work with ever?
As a
Either. I mean, in your case, either, because music's got some really interesting characters out there, and so does writing in a sense right now.
Yeah, I like Mary Lou's stories. James Patterson. I'm reading The Martian. I've seen the movie, but I actually decided to go in and read the book. I'm on Martha Wells too. She's amazing. But The Martian by Andy Weir, and because I've seen the story, but the book is like, wow, it's so much more.
Great
and
book.
it's so much more scientific too. And I'm like, man, they didn't put any of this stuff in the movie.
Wow.
I agree, but I wonder how much they could without losing.
Yeah.
People get bored.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah, 2 hours. After 2 hours, it's like, an hour and a half, really. So,
Yeah.
yeah. The real story, the true story is in the book.
Yeah. It always is. There's so much. There's so much.
As a saxophone player, though, as a performing artist, I would love to work with, Alicia Keys. It would be nice to work with, gosh, there's so many artists I want to. Stevie Wonder. Gosh, I mean, it's a list. I mean, I've worked with some pretty amazing artists, but there are some that I haven't yet that I would love to. So it's a big list I got written down. I got a bucket list.
Well, get on it. What do you?
I got to.
Just start phoning these people.
That's it. Just call them in.
Yeah,
Call them up.
Yeah. When in doubt, the worst they'll do is say no.
Exactly.
I
mean, the worst they can curse you out and then say no.
Well, yeah, I've had that a few times, but
Curse you out, then
this,
say-
but in a way, that's kind of an honor in itself.
That's an honor. Yeah, getting cursed out by Alicia Keys.
Yeah,
Wow.
could you imagine if she called you
That'd be great.
some harsh names and
Oh my gosh.
where else could you get that?
I would be touched. I would
Yeah.
tell her, I'm so touched by what you said.
Yeah. Well, at least there's a passion for you.
There you go. See?
You kind of have to laugh at that, but well, that's cool. It's really interesting. Well, so now the book is out. Now, how do you deal with people on social media? Do you have like a website? Do you have social media platforms? How do people find you?
Well, I mean, all of my social media is at Jackiem Joyner. Most people just can't spell my name. So,
Yeah.
JACKIEMJOYNER. Instagram at Jackiem Joyner. My website is JackemJoyner.com. And if you want to just go into my stories and just look at my books, you can go to, I have a different website called JoynerBookClub.com. And that has my books and stories and different stuff I may be working on and stuff like that. And, people can kind of go in there and just, chat, leave comments. And, so that's a cool place for readers and authors.
Yeah. Well, we'll put all that up too, right? We'll get all that up so people can find you with one click and they don't have to know how to spell. It's a tough thing these days.
Yeah, right. I know, including with grammar and spell check and all of that. It doesn't matter. People still can't spell.
Yeah, no, it doesn't work. So that's really interesting. How is are you glad now kind of the pandemic's passed and you can kind of get out again, or how was that for you?
Well, yeah, I mean, last year was an amazing year for touring, and this year is shaping up to be another really, really busy year. And it's interesting because I'm trying to fit in the writing schedule and release schedule too. And let me tell you, it's not easy touring and stuff like that. And also, I'm putting out an album this year, so it's definitely going to keep me busy. I'm glad that the pandemic is kind of seemed like it's tapering down to the point to where people aren't afraid to come out to shows, and say hi and shake your hand, and
Yeah.
be normal again.
Yeah. All the groupies.
Yeah, all the groupies. what are you going to do without groupies? You know, got to have a few groupies.
Yeah, but do you wear masks with groupies or not?
You know, I can't. When's the last time I wore a mask? I don't remember.
Yeah, it's been a while. I know.
Yeah.
Actually, no, I've worn it a few times because when you still go into doctor's offices or something.
Yeah, you still have to wear it.
Yeah, they still make you wear it and stuff like that. So, you know,
Yeah.
something you have to get used to. Actually, I look better with a mask.
Yes, you know, look, when half of your face is covered, you look better because they don't have to see the whole thing.
Yeah, I got nice eyes. See, so I can just show my eyes off and then they go, oh, well, he's not bad looking. See, it works. I'm going to leave it on actually all the time.
Hey, it could be a thing. It could be a thing. It could be your thing.
I'll start a new trend. I'll be the new Lady Gaga. Yeah, that's it. Well, we really appreciate you coming on and talking about your book, TimeLab, and kind of letting us know what's going on with you. I'm glad everything's going good and you're out performing again and doing stuff. And, geez, what can I say?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So now the book, of course, everyone, it'll be on the website. You can just pick it up. You should. Why not? It's fun.
Yeah.
Help them out.
Yeah, it's $2.99. It's super cheap.
Geez, you know, what can you get for $2.99 nowadays?
Yeah.
You know, that's not even a
It's not even a coffee.
no. I mean, a
No, it's
latte's
not.
more.
That's
than
not even a latte. That's not even a mocha latte caramel.
Yeah, that's
latte.
right. That's right. And it's less calories. It's better for you.
It's less calories. It's good for your mind.
Yeah.
And it's a short read, too. It's a short read, you know.
Well, that's good. You know. Well, perfect. Now the book, TimeLab. It's episode 1.
Yes.
And Jackiem Joyner, thank you for being here.
Thank you. This has been a pleasure, you guys.
Thanks, Jackie.
You've been listening to the House of Mystery radio show. To find out more about our guests, hosts, or shows, go to www.houseofmystery.com.
Show's over for now.
Was it as good for you as it was for me? Well, good night. This has been a production of Something Weird Media.
I'll be back.